Hey everybody, PhoenixTalon here, and we're going to do a tutorial video for the MC Rando tracker. If you don't know what that is, then I'm curious why you're watching this video. But it is a program that is made by me to help and assist in the tracking of non-logical pathed items. So what that basically means is, as you're playing a game such as Minecraft Randomizer, you can go ahead and go from item to item to item and follow a distinct path that is not logical, meaning it makes no sense why this item should yield said item over here, but it will go ahead and allow you to do that without typing it into a notepad or some other document, which you're going to have to peruse and search for who knows how long just to find the path that you were looking for. And then also it combines paths and all that, and we'll get into that. But we're going to go ahead and talk about how to get it. We're going to talk about a quick start, meaning those people that are like me that really just need the abbreviated directions and I don't really care what it does, as long as it works. Then we're going to talk about a more in-depth how to use. Then we're going to go into how it actually does work, meaning why it works the way it does and sort of how to understand the logic behind something that tracks illogical random objects. Then we'll talk about a future upcoming sort of features that might be implemented in the future. For example, the ability to add your own data sets. So we'll get into that also. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the how to get. So how do you get this thing? Go to my website. The link will be in the description below. Go to Dirty Cartridge Games. If you don't want to click on the link, you can do a Google search for Dirty Cartridge Games. Go to the website, and then you're going to click on Downloads. There's not a lot to this website. I just use it mostly as a storage right now for these things. Used to be something. So you're going to go ahead and go to this. It's mcrandotracker.exe. This is the application that you need, and you're going to get a warning. The warning is going to let you know that, hey, if you keep an exe file, it can damage your computer. No kidding. Well, if you're here, I'm going to assume that you want it, and you're going to keep it. So that said, it's going to go ahead and download it. You're going to go to your downloads folder. Then you're going to bring it on over, and you might get an alert from your, whatever you want to call it, your antivirus or that sort of thing. And it's basically going to tell you what mine is telling you here, is that it has very few users, it's very new, and it's not proven. And that's fine. All that really just means is that very few people have downloaded it. It is new, meaning this is the newest version of it. And the reason that it doesn't track how long it's been completely is that I don't have it uploaded to a version tracker type of server or an FTP site more specifically. And what that would do is keep track of it. And I don't have that. That costs money, and the ones that don't cost money don't allow you to do very much time. Anyway, point is, it's fine. If you don't want to use it, then don't use it. I don't care. We're here. You're here because you want to use it. So now you're going to do a first time open. It's going to go ahead and give you this error, not an error, but a security warning as well. You should always ask before opening this type of file. That's just really good practice. Press run. And then it's going to go ahead and say, do you really want to run this? I am going to go ahead and check always run this file if this is chosen. It may come back each time this is updated, the different versions. Right now we're in 1.0.0.4. If you download 1.0.0.5, then what that means is this will probably come up and say, hey, this is a new program. It's not really tracking that the version has been updated because, once again, it's not attached to that. So I'm going to say always run and run this program anyway. This is what you get first. Now, it's off-center in your screen of viewing, but it's centered in mine, and it's designed to center in your screen. So there are two things to keep in mind with this now that we're into the quick start. So, we're in quick start, surprise! So once you open it for the first time, it's going to ask you to create a new folder. So for all of you guys that are trying to get into this as fast as possible, I would personally name it whatever the name of your Minecraft game is. But if not, then that's whatever you want it to be. For our purposes, we're going to call this, if I could actually click on the thing, sorry, tutorial data 01. Doesn't matter what you name it. You put spaces, special characters, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's the normal naming convention that you would normally put in for a file name or a folder name. So if you start putting slashes and stars and things like that, obviously it's not going to work. So just try to keep it normal naming conventions. Go ahead and hit create, and then I'm going to center this a little bit better in your screen so you guys can see this a little bit better. Okay. Two things, even for your quick starters, that you need to know. One, you should run your Minecraft game in windowed mode. Okay, and the reason for that is this is an always on top application, and if you run it in full screen mode and you only have one screen, you'll never see this, because full screen mode supersedes always on top mode. So if you only have one screen, you want to run this program, you need to run it in windowed mode. Okay, now that's not to say you can't fill the screen, it's just that it has to be in that mode. Okay, now if you've got 2 or 3 or 5 screens, you can run it however you want, and you can put this off to the side, and that's fine. Okay, so that caveat taken care of. Okay, how to get quick started. So you're going to start in the search items tab. If you're a first start and you don't have anything on it, you're going to want the set items tab. Okay, so let's say you're playing a game, and I don't know, oak logs. Oh, did you notice it started filling this in? We'll get into that with the how to use for the people that really want to dive deep. For you guys that are just quick start, here you go. So oak log, you can either double click or press enter. And let's say oak log does something really cool, like yield diamond blocks. I mean, how could we ever have a game that, yields that? So let's say you punch a block with the fist, diamond block comes out, save and proceed to next drop. Now, let's say you actually had a pickaxe. Now, by default, the pickaxe is what breaks the diamond block, so you don't really have to say anything, and you don't have to. This is just for your notes anyway. But let's say something specifically. You're like, oh, not diamond. I was about to say diamond pickaxe. Pickaxe. All right, so let's say you really want to be specific about it. You're that type of meticulous person. So you break the diamond block, and lo and behold, it yields an iron block. That's not a really good trade. So iron block for the trade, okay? So you do that. And let's say you break the iron block and it yields, I don't know, cyan stained glass. That'll work. So now cyan stained glass, go ahead and save and proceed. Now we get smart and say, hey, you know what? I probably should have silk touch on this pickaxe by now. So I go ahead and do cyan stained glass, and it drops a flower pot. And it drops something else. So instead of save and proceed to next drop, we're going to save and add additional drop. So let's say it drops a puppy. Okay, so it dropped a poppy, and that was the last thing it dropped, so I'm going to go ahead and say save and clear fields. So now, every time I've been saving it, it's been letting us know right here that it's been saving it. It's also been dumping that into a text file. So let's go ahead and say we've played, we're breaking everything, and we forgot, oh no, how do we get poppies? Okay, it's so important that we get poppies, because we ran out of poppies. I don't know where all the poppies are. Yeah, that's impossible, right? So we're going to hit search. Boom, look at that. All I need to do is go find something along this path. An oak log, default without silk, goes to diamond block. Pickaxe without silk goes to iron block. Then I pickaxe without silk and I get a cyan stained glass. Then I pickaxe with silk and I get a poppy. And it's like, whoa, all right, that's how I make poppies. So let's say I wasn't sure what an oak log yielded. I said, I'm surrounded by trees. I've got oak logs everywhere. What does an oak log yield? Well, I have a way of checking that too. We're going to go ahead and click Use Advanced Item Search or Use Advanced Search. We're going to expand the options that we have. In this window, you can drag it down and look at it if you want. We're going to bring that up so you can kind of see it better. There we go. I am going to say is a source item because we want to see what it yields. And I might want to actually type the source item in here. So let's go ahead and type oak log. And I'm going to show you that I didn't type it, capitalize it, or click anything. If I press enter, it will still find it. So I'm just showing you that. I don't really care what tool I used. I do want to clear my search because I don't want a whole bunch of clutter. And that's what we're going to do. Then I say, what does an oak log yield? So it's my source item now. So search. Well, look at that. Because it tracks, all the items that it can make, it tracks the branch. So I'll get to that when we get into the more in-depth. But needless to say, I can say an oak log all the way at the very, very end here yields all this business down here. In this case, it's a flower pot, and a poppy. So if I want to go to its ultimate conclusion, then that's it. Otherwise, just knowing that it yields a diamond block is, hey, that's pretty good for me. I think that's a really good trade-off. So there you go. So that's your quick start, how to get into it so that you can set some item data paths and recall so that you're in the middle of the game. Okay, so now we're going to start the in-depth how to use this. So if that's all you needed, have a great life, and I hope it works for you. If you want more, please stay tuned. Here it comes. So we've got all these wonderful things that we can do here. So we've got search items, let me start over. Search items, set item path. I almost said search item path this, twice. Then you've got group drop info, which is coming. It maybe. We'll see what happens with this. It's going to depend on if people want this or not. This could be a very good tool to use, and what this group drop means is, let's say you know for sure this is a village chest that you just got. When you punched a tall piece of grass, you know you got the village chest, and you know what kind of village chest it is. So you can just come in here, select that, and on the set item paths, I actually have that as a type of answer. You see I've got abandoned mine shaft, buried treasure, ender chest, well, not ender chest, what was it called? In city? Yeah, in city treasure chest. So these are things that if you know that, oh, this is an in city treasure chest, boom, you can just select it, and this group drop info is going to have the ability to show what that does. So that's more of a future thing. We'll talk about that. You have save searches. This is not something you can type into, but you can export it, and it will save using this right here, save searches. So if I were to search for this oak log again, let's go ahead and do that. Then we look over here and save searches, and boom, it shows up. Okay. So if I don't want to save those, then that's fine. The only way to clear this is to actually go into the text file itself and delete it. So this is more of one of those things of people that just like to take a log and keep a log, and they don't like to delete their logs. Okay, so that's what this is. Doesn't matter how big it is, it's a text file. Okay, user notes. This you can actually type into. So like, let's say export search results to notes. So now I come over to notes, and here it is. And then I can say, this program is awesome, right? And then, we can do all that. Okay. This one you can edit, you can delete it. When it loads up, it loads every time when you load the program, so that's fine. Remove paths. This one is great. So let's say, for example, you're in here and set item path, and you're like, oh, glass. And you're like, oh, glass definitely yields an emerald, right? Absolutely, right? That's a thing. So save and clear, and you're like, oh no, it was gray stained glass. Oh, my mistake. So you write that in real quick, and you're like, oh man, now it's gonna come up with, emerald or glass, and I'm not gonna know which one I need every time, and it's just gonna be so confusing, right? I know, right? Oh no. So now we're just gonna load all paths, and this may or may not be hard to understand, because when you load paths, it's just going to show you in the order you put them in. So if it was like the last thing you did, like this is the last thing we did, and this was the very last thing before that last thing we did, then it's going to be towards the bottom of the list. If you want to sort it alphabetically, you can just click the thing and click load again, and it'll reload it. But in our case, we want to know what were the last couple of things we did. So this one right here, now you're saying, oh no, I don't want to delete anything. Unload, don't delete. Okay, undo, right? Undo, no problems. All right, but in this case, we do want to delete it, so we're going to go ahead and delete selected path. It's going to give you a little warning here, and it's going to say, do you want to delete this? And it's going to re-emphasize the path. It's going to say glass, default without set to emerald. Do you want to delete this? You're going to say, yes, yes I do. Then it's going to let you know it has been deleted. Then, as you can see, it recycles the list so that you can see that it's been deleted. So this is a very powerful tool in case you make a mistake. You don't have to go into the text file and look this up. If you did go into the text file and look this up, you're not going to understand any of it. And I'll explain why, because this is more of the how it works but we'll get into that. So I'm going to show you that next after we get into this, because there's still a couple of more things I want to show you here. You can narrow your search by tool to a certain extent. This is more for like, okay, I not so much like for pickaxe, for example. So I want to know oak log, search the path for pickaxe, but there isn't one because I didn't use the pickaxe on the oak log. So let's say I use the pickaxe for the diamond block, and you search. Now it's going to show me what it was. So this is important because the other thing that it does is, let's say for whatever reason, maybe not narrow by tool, but let's narrow by silk touch. Okay, so let's say I used, what was it that I used? It was cyan stained glass. So let's say cyan stained glass using silk touch yields, or not silk touch, because that's what we did use. Using not silk touch yields pumpkin seeds. Okay, so let's say just hitting it with my hand, doing nothing, yields pumpkin seeds. That's a possibility. That does happen. So let's go ahead and narrow by silk touch, and we'll narrow cyan stained glass and then search, and it's going to only show what I get with the silk touch. Okay, so let's say I use non-silk touch, and then I do it again. Now it's only going to show what I yield with non-silk touch. Okay, so this can be a really good thing, because if you're like, oh, I don't want to have a whole bunch of clutter, and you just want to look at your silk touch stuff, you can to a certain extent. This is more like for this one, you know, more for the source item and not so much for the drop item, although you can do it with that one too. Okay, so clear, export to notes, we already talked about. Save searches, we already talked about. Reset advanced options, boom, reset. You can collapse this, open it and collapse it. That's too easy. Use advanced search. I like to have this always checked on, but by default it's not on when you start the program, so you'll have to check that. But it should, for the most part, remember if you were in advanced search or not, or what your search options were. But I like to use it because then I can open it and do source item or not, depending, because I forget everything. The other thing in this corner, I know you guys keep seeing this quick collapse. This quick collapse is really awesome. If you click it, it quick collapses your program. So you're in the game, it's taking up a lot of space. Think about this. If this was your game and that's taking up all that space just to type it, and then now, boom, now I can go on and play my game, right? So it actually doesn't take up that much space. We're really shrunk down here. But if that's the size of your screen though, then yeah, then that does take up a lot of space. Also, this one right here is your opacity. So like, for example, you know, you play it here and you can barely see it, of course, but now you can see and play your game. And that's the important thing. That's what I was getting at with that. Also, if you completely make it vanish and you're like, oh no, where did it go? And you just go down and close it. All right, we are going to save it. It lets you know, it wants you to save things. Okay, we're going to run and it's going to open. Notice the opacity is back to where it should be. And here's our tutorial data. We can open that pack, and now we can go ahead and continue mission and what we were doing. It does remember, if you notice it, when we first started, it was about so big. This last time when it started, it was bigger. That means it remembers how big you had it the last time you have it. So if you minimize it and then close it, it'll remember that it's like this big, and it'll open and it'll be like this tiny. That's okay. It's just, that's what it remembers, the size that you made it. So there you go. Set item path also has the quick collapse. So that's why, you know, you want these on both of these right here. Okay, it's in the same place, so you can actually go between tabs and still be able to hit the button. So it's very important. Okay. We already talked about save searches, user notes, and remove paths. Now let's talk about this toolbar. So you got all the same stuff here. New, open, save, save as. We're talking about the files, the folders. So what this makes is a folder set so that you can go ahead and use it. Okay, it makes a series of text documents in there, and that's why it doesn't open the traditional Microsoft Windows dialog box. Cut, copy, paste, select all, same things that you always had. Not tools, where am I going? User notes. So I can go ahead here, this program is awesome, and paste this a whole bunch. I can go ahead and Control X. I can select all, and I can go ahead and delete it, the whole thing if I want, or I can, you know, go ahead and you know, do nothing if I want. But the point is that that's how you can get this to work for you. Okay, and then it's going to tell you that you haven't saved it. So now I saved it, and now I've saved an empty text file, and that's the important thing to understand there. Options are coming soon. There's going to be some options later that we'll get into in the future stuff. External links. So what external links does is you can go ahead and click on these and go to, obviously, the links that they're there. For the website, it goes to the website. Here's that always on top business too. I love that. Obviously, you know where the website is now that you have the program, so you don't really need that, but you know, just in case. Discord, if you click on that, it'll open up the Discord server in the web browser. If that's how you like it, then that's fine. Otherwise, just get the link from the toolbar or the link bar, address bar at the top. Go ahead and bring that over to your Discord, and boom, there you go. There you can talk to us, and you can ask me questions or whatever. If you want to watch me live, you can go to the Twitch, and if you want to watch me on YouTube, well, you're watching me on YouTube. Chances are you know my channel. But this is just for in case. About. Never pay for this program. That's what it basically says here. If you spent money on this, then somebody ripped you off. Get your money back. It's free. I made it. It's almost 4,000 lines of code. I've made it as intuitive, as user-friendly as possible. I've worked very hard on it. I hope you enjoy it. And if you know you do enjoy it, please, you know, let me know. Give me a comment. Give me a like. I would appreciate it. But I'm not asking for any money for this. This was me because I didn't want to write 100 different lines of text and stuff, and that's what, you know, this is where it came from, because I'm lazy. I wrote 4,000 lines of code because I'm lazy. Go figure on that one. All right, so there you go. So that's the how to use, and I know I kind of dabbled a little bit in how it works. Now we're going to really get deep into how it works. Okay, so when you first are doing this, it opens up in your app data. It makes save folders. So right now there is a save folder, and I'm going to open this. There we go. And in this, here, you know what? Let's minimize you for a second. This is what it looks like. All right, this is what your pathing data looks like. So you're like, what is this? So what this does is it takes a data set that is stored in the program, and this is what the data set looks like. Everything is alphabetical. Everything is spaced and capitalized, and it's like almost 800 items, okay? And I'll tell you, I did enter most of these by hand, but I'll tell you how that works. So what this is doing is this is finding that item, okay? So I don't know why I just did that. Okay, just trying to use this. So if we go to item 5, well, let's do something easy. Item 220, right? We use that a lot. Item 220, if we look in here, load all paths, is going to be cyan stained glass. Where? Can you see that? There you go. All right. So item 220 is cyan stained glass, and you can see it because it's consistently through here. So you're like, well, I don't believe you. Let's do something easier. So let's do something easier. Let's go into a source item of acacia button yields acacia door. So that should be items 2 and 3, I think. Or I'm sorry, it would be item 1 and 2. Okay. So actually clear field. Yeah. If you try to save and there's nothing there, it gives you a warning and says, no, you can't do that. Or if you try to save it, no, you can't do that. So I'm just going to clear fields and start over. So now, if we reopen this, okay, so you got to reopen it now because it just saved it. There we go. So now you can see items 2 and 3. Right, because item 0 is nothing. That's right. So item 0 is nothing, because if you look at the drop down, nothing, and then 1, 2, and 3. Okay. I knew I could count. So that is, when you look at it, it's this. So what is the 0, 0? The 0, 0 is the tool you used and whether it's silk touch or not. Okay. So this was just the numerical way of storing that data, so you don't have to store a whole bunch of words that the computer doesn't know how to read. Well, I mean, it knows how to read it, but you would have to basically teach it how to read blocks of text. I didn't want to do that. That's a pain. So I had it store each block of text as an item number. That way, when it researches or does search for it again, it searches for it as a number, which is the line of where it is. So that's why that works. Okay. When it's doing that, now it can search line numbers and search for words in those line numbers. So long story short, because I know you don't want the overall details, is it actually is searching for different word paths based on the numbers after it's divided the entire line into those words. Okay, so if that makes sense to you, excellent. If you're totally lost, that's fine. It took me 20 days to write this program, so I understand. All right. But basically, it searches for the numbers according to the lines. So it goes to the lines, okay? Whereas like with the silk touch yes or no, it's just a binary yes or no. Okay, so that's fine there. So that's how that works. The search algorithm, so now you know how you set it. It sets by using the line numbers. The search algorithm is really wicked and wonky, and I have to actually show you this for you to understand. So what we're going to do is minimize that real quick. And I am going to explain how this logical system works. Or I'm going to try. So, why are you not showing? Oh, I know why. Now I feel silly. There we go. Okay. I was clicking the wrong button. That happens. Okay, so what you're looking up here is sort of how I managed to make it search for the things, the different items. So if you can imagine nested loops, okay, you have an outer loop that says, while this loop is true, do whatever's inside this series of looping. Then inside that series of looping, there are other nested loops. So needless to say, this first series of loops is just taking that sentence apart with the numbers and the words. The next series of loops looks for the words and what the different paths are. Then it takes that nested loop and it searches for what the next item after that is, after it brings it back and says, okay, this item now is my new search item that I'm looking for. What you end up with is a very awesome search tree, and it's very quick because it doesn't search the whole list. It only searches, well, it does search the whole list in terms of what you have entered, but it doesn't search the whole item list. Once it's found that item and it knows what that line is, it doesn't search it again. So it only is searching for that specific item, then it's searching, or that specific item number rather, then it goes and applies that to the actual item. But it's targeted. It only searches for that line number when it's searching the whole big data list. So it actually makes it a lot cleaner. So what you end up with here is in group 1, for your first series of items, is think about it in terms of group 1 with this tool, with this silk, going to the next item, which would be your group 2. So it'll search, it finds item 1, then item 1 yields item 2. Item 2 yields item 3, item 3 yields item 4. And I think we can all kind of follow that train of thought and follow the logic across. So if we can follow that, now we can follow the tree of what it does. Okay, so now we're looking at the tree. So this is where it gets silly, and this is why you have to have all those loops to find all those different items. So we have item 1, and item 1, when you broke it, yielded 2 different items. So this is your group 2 loop. So it goes through and it says item 1 yielded item 2A and item 2B. Then it goes all the way back to the beginning of the loop, and it says, okay, we're done with item 1. It's already forgotten that. It's kicked that out of the loop. Now it's going ahead and looking at what did item 2 yield. Well, item 2, did you yield an extra item? Yes. Okay, then you are going to get into a special loop that now we're going to go ahead and check what you did. Item 2, did you, or item 2B, did you yield an item? Yes, I did. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and look at you. If item 2B didn't yield an item, then it's done. It's kicked out of the loop and it's gone forever. It just gets printed up on your screen, okay, or out of the search display. But in this case, we yielded everything. So item 2A yielded 2 items, so now it has its own nested trees that happen there. Item 2B only yielded item 3C, so now it's going to continue on that. So now that we're done with group 3's loop, now what did group 3 yield? And it asks the same questions. Did you yield items? What did you yield? And then it goes on from there. So now you can kind of see, and then that's why when you get your search display, you're going to start with item 1, and in this case, you should have 5 output lines, all starting with item 1. You should have 1A goes to 2A, goes to 3A, goes to 4A. 1A goes to 2A, goes to 3B. I'm sorry, excuse me, I misspoke. 1A goes to 2A, goes to 3A, goes to 4B. 1A goes to 2A, goes to 3B, goes to 4C. 1A goes to 2A, goes to 3B, goes to 4D. 1A goes to 2B, goes to 3C, goes to 4E. So you should have those 5 lines output on your search. And that's what this program does. And it's so much faster than searching through something because it keeps it all grouped together, and you don't have to look through a notepad document trying to figure out what all the groups are. Okay, so why is that important? Well, the other thing that this program does is it prevents infinite loops. So sometimes, as I found out on one of my series, and I fixed this, that's why we're up to 1.0.0.4, is that it can infinite loop. So whereas the one before it just goes straight across and then ends, this next one prevents an infinite loop. Okay, so that's why that's important, is that other one is all part of the same function. All of the functions happen at the exact same time, and it all does the exact same checks. So it's checking for all of these exceptions, all while you're just sitting there waiting for it to come up, which is instantly, which is awesome. So what I was able to figure out a way to do was, once it gets from 1A to 2A to 3A to 4A, if 4A then yields item 1A, so like let's say you have a spruce button that yields a dark oak fence, and that dark oak fence yields a spruce button. So the spruce button yields a dark oak fence, yields a spruce button, yields a fence, yields a button, yields a fence, yields a button, yields a fence. You get stuck in a loop. And when you're in that infinite loop, your program crashes, and that's bad. Because then you got to restart it and go, why did it crash? So what this does is I put in an exception that actually checks to make sure that the last item and the first item are not the same. If it is, then it just prints that one last item, and then that's it. That way you know it's a loop when it displays, but it doesn't get stuck in a loop. So it makes it a lot easier to work with. So that's important. If you get stuck in a loop, please let me know, because that shouldn't happen. I worked very hard to make so. So in a nutshell, that's how it works. If you're really interested in the specificity of how the program itself works and the nested loops, I'm not putting the program up for free for everybody to look at, because it's proprietary. It's mine. But more than that, I put a lot of hours in this thing. I'm not kidding when I said it took 20 days. In whatever hours I had available to program. But the point is it took a while. I don't want you to think like I'm being mean or anything, but I will try to help you if you're looking to program something similar. Okay, so if you're trying to program something similar and you need some help with it, hit me back with it. and I can kind of give you some tips, but I'm not going to give you my source code. So there's my disclaimer. All right, so future versions. What are we looking for? What can we expect from the Rando tracker? What do I want to do with this? So non-logical random items or non-logical pathing is a thing. That's actually a thing in the real world as much as it is in the video game world. More application in the video game world would be, let's say you're playing Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past entrance randomizer, where it's not just as much as you go into Hyrule Castle and all of a sudden, you know, you're in Tower of Hera. I'm talking like you go into Hyrule Castle, you're in Tower of Hera, you leave Tower of Hera, and you come out of the, I don't know, the lumberjack house door. You go in the lumberjack house door, and next thing you're in Pod. You come out the Pod door, and next thing you know, you're at Waterfall Ferry. Okay, those non-logical paths, you can go ahead and search it for this. Now, what I basically said, you know, can and can't happen depending on what style of the game you're playing and all the things, you know. The entrance randomizer obviously doesn't work quite like that. But if it, you know, you get where I'm going with this. Anytime you have a path that you need to keep track of, this will do it for you. So future, I want to be able to import any data path that you can make. So let me show you the data path that was unedited. Okay, so unedited data path looked like this. I wrote it or copy pasted it wherever I could find it, either online or not online. This is not in alphabetical order. In fact, if you go all the way to the bottom, you can see how it's just totally out of order down here. But I was just adding items. Well, in this program, I already wrote it in. There's a hidden button in the actual program. It's turned off right now for the release, but there is a hidden button in there that actually will turn it into this. Okay, so it will take all of this yummy goodness on the left and turn it into the yummy goodness on the right. So it actually, you know, gets rid of the underscores, it makes spaces, it capitalizes everything, it makes it easy. The reason this works and why I like it like this is that when it does the search, it will automatically, you know, capitalize and do it. I just noticed I had an error. Look at that. Acacia boat. I'll have to fix that later. Looks like we're in store for 1.0.0.5. So there you go. So be on the lookout for that, because that should actually be all the way up here. Where I could probably fix that now. I'll fix it later. The point I'm getting at is I'm going to implement the ability to put your own data packs in there anyway. So that'd probably be the very next version, because I mean, I think we can figure out it's an acacia boat. We'll figure it out. The only bad thing is if you search for boat, it won't pop up. So that might be why my acacia boat didn't pop up. Yeah, you get the idea. The point that I'm trying to get to is that I do want to have the ability to have your own items data sets, so you can import those and keep your own data paths as long as you're you know, saving it appropriately and you're using it for the right things. And then the other thing I want to have is to have those chest sets, so that the chest itself yields a certain set of items, and that you'll always know what that chest set is, so you'll be able to click on that and import it in, so that when you say, oh, that's a village, you know, or a in-city loot chest, you'll be able to click on that here, load that in, you know, as like an item path, like what yielded that. So you could say, you know, go to group or something like that maybe, or just research what the in-city and then add as dropped item. Actually, I think I would probably do work better. So you find it here, you say, oh, that's exactly what it yielded, add dropped item. Boom, add dropped item, and then you'll be able to say what it yielded. Okay, so yeah, that's where that would go. So that's a thing. That's something I want to do. And then the other thing, and I want to have that in here. The other thing I want to do is have the ability to change color maybe, or redo the tabs, or, you know, there's some like stylistic things, but that might be more of like a version 2 type of thing. So those types of things will be coming. Those are things that I've already started on. But you know, give me time, because you know, it's a lot of work. Okay, so I hope this tutorial was helpful, and I hope that maybe you got something out of it. So we're going to go ahead and stop the video here, but if you do need some help with any of this stuff, like I said, I'm not going to give you my source code, but I can help you. I know some C languages, and I can maybe give you some tips and tricks. I didn't know anything about Windows Forms when I started this, and I ended up with a really nice product. So I can sort of lead you in the right directions, and I do know some little pitfalls and things you should watch out for. Other than that, based on the program itself, if you have a feature that you'd like to see, if there's something that maybe that I can do for you to help you out, maybe it's not working as intended, or maybe you think that one of the features is a little clunky and you'd like something a little extra, just let me know. Come into the Discord. That's the best way to get a hold of me, or go ahead and leave a comment in the video. But definitely, if you're using it and it's working for you, please leave a like, and definitely let me know that you're using it. That way I know that people are getting something out of it. Otherwise, if nobody ends up using it, I'll just get rid of it. No, I won't do that. But yes, please let me know if you're enjoying it. And until the next episode or video or whatever you would like to say, thank you for watching so much, and thank you for your continued support. Peace.